Welcome back to the secret underground lair. Today we're going to get all of that assembled. So the hat, the cone, and the top of the dust bin. We'll put it all together. So I've been considering various ways to kind of get all this stuff stuck together. Obviously I'm thinking of screws in the bottom of the hat here, the bottom of the cone going into the hat, just off camera. But kind of keeping the whole thing stable from tipping over this way and that way. I'm going to go with the notion of putting some supports vertically, kind of like so. Now to use, what I'm going to use for that just happens to be a piece of Doug fir that was done on the work table sawmill. You might want to take a look at that video about a twisted to useful Doug fir. So I'm going to cut this into some strips and we'll have a piece coming down on each of the four sides. And then I'm also thinking that I might want to run a ring around the inside of that about halfway down, just to kind of keep these vertical pieces from having any shimmy going this way. So let me start by cutting off some strips to the appropriate height. And yeah, we'll get started with that. I'm not going to make them the same thickness. These pieces are a little bit tapered, having been rough cut on the work table sawmill. I'm going to go 7/8. Alright, we got our four pieces cut. I'll just now cut them to length, rough length. I like Doug fir, it's nice wood. Of course, I'm comparing Doug fir to what we typically get in my area, which is spruce, which is usually full of knots and incredibly twisted. Doug fir, you know, as an example on these pieces, is relatively clean of knots. The grain is straight. Yeah, this is just kind of miracle wood compared to the stuff that we get in my area. So the distance from the top of the bin hat to the top of the bin cover to the top of the hat is about 34 inches. So I'm going to cut these to length at 36. Okay, so the dimensions of the hat are 15 1/4 by 14 1/8. I'm just going to mark out that square here on the lid of the bin, and then what I can do is make sure that I get our vertical uprights positioned on the edge of that perimeter. That way when I'm thinking what I'll do is I'll run a screw up from the bottom of this lid into the member here, and then when we get to the hat we'll go through here into the hat. I still have a line on here that was used when we were cutting this out on the bandsaw, so that's going to come in very handy for our reference. Okay, I have the rough layout of the hat now inscribed on the top of the lid. So I know that I could put a piece here, 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 and here. So it looks like I'm going to be good on all sides, with the exception of this side over here, where I put in a screw for the hat. So this screw here is going to be roughly in the, well it is, it's right smack in the middle. So when I put this piece in here and it comes up onto the hat, I'm going to have to make a little allowance. I'll make a little Forstner bit to allow for that screw. The intention is that I'll be putting a screw in here and here through our support that'll go into the top and the bottom of the hat. Okay, bottom and top of the hat. Actually, no, this is the top. That's the bottom of the hat. So I know that may sound a little confusing at the moment, but hopefully it will become clear as we proceed with the assembly. Now for these supports, I'm going to be using these, again, shouldered particle board screws going into the dug fir. I'll just make sure that I drill the appropriate size pilot hole in the dug fir. And the reason I'm using a shouldered screw rather than a wood flathead screw, I have put flathead screws into this material before, and it doesn't take a lot of force for a flathead screw just to go ripping right through the material. So this isn't the strongest of material structurally, so a shoulder screw will give a better purchase. So I'm gonna mark a spot 7/16 of an inch from the edge of our line here. The wood that we cut is 7/8 of an inch thick. So I'm going to be drilling the pilot hole in the upright member. All right. That is the lid of the bucket with room for hat support. There's our cone in place. And I'm going to move the camera around so you can see how the hat's going to sit in there. I got it in backwards here. One dimension being slightly longer than the other. No, I don't actually. I had it in the right way. Okay. Well, something seems a little off. Oh yes, of course. Ha! Okay, I made a mistake again. Let me show you what I did. Okay, I forgot to account for the fact that the hat is a little bit, or the hole is offset for the cone in the hat by the amount of the pipe sticking out. So what that means is that this member needs to come out a bit and the member opposite needs to come in a bit. And it looks like I'm off by probably maybe 7/8 of an inch. So that'll bring this out right to the edge. Is it critical? Yeah, I should probably address it, certainly on the back piece. So I'll make that adjustment and then come back. So I was off 5/8 of an inch. So I moved, I've drawn a new line 5/8 inch here and extend this one out 5/8 of an inch. I'll drill some new holes, pilot holes. Of course, then I'm going to have to use some silicone to plug that hole because I want this to be under vacuum. I don't want air going in there. So I'll run some silicone, put first silicone in both sides of these holes just to plug them up. All right, I got the supports moved over. Ran silicone in both sides of that hole. So that should plug it up nicely as soon as the silicone sets. All right, let me put the cone back in and the hat back on and let's see what it looks like. Okay, let's assemble the hat again. And I took the time to number all the pieces so I can can get it back the same way. Actually, before I do that, before I assemble this guy, I do want to mark off the relief, or deal with the relief for that screw at the top of the hat. And I marked that on the piece somewhere where the yeah, where I took the round over off. So I'm gonna have to mark that again. Let me bring over the hat. So there's the screw that I'm trying to avoid. Our piece will sit in about here like this. And I want some relief about here to here. And what I think I'll do, rather than mess around with the drill press and the dado and all that stuff, or drill press and a Forstner bit, I'm just going to run this through the table saw and take slightly more than 1/8 of an inch off that. And that little dado will give us the relief that we need for that screw. Reassemble the hat again. And I'm hoping this will be the last time. Okay, I've got that strut in, and you can see that we now have clearance for that screw going through the little dado there. Everything else is lining up okay. So what I can do at this point is drill the holes through this into the top of the hat and the bottom of the hat. And then we can mount some screws in there to hold the whole business together. So I'll pick some screws. These ones could be wood screws. I'm not looking for any structural integrity. Well, a little bit of structure here, but mostly placement. I figure with 8 screws holding, going into the hat here, so one on each, or 2 screws on each vertical member, we should be good. So they don't have to be the same 2-inch screws that we put into the base. So I'll pick some screws, drill some holes, and we'll get this put in place. Okay, so here's the unit assembled. Our hat, our cone, and the bin underneath there. What I'm going to do, just temporarily, because I'm anxious now to run a test. So using a couple of these cut-offs of our Doug fir that we use for these support beams, I'm just going to use them on top of the hat like this. And I'm going to adjust the camera so you can see that a little bit better. And to those, what I will mount is the blower. So I'm just going to set the blower on those pieces. Screw that into the hat. And then we can go from the top of the hat right into here and run a test. Oh, this is getting exciting now. So I've marked and drilled a couple holes in the that little bit of Doug fir, the cutoffs, and I have mounted the blower onto the board. So I'll do the same for the other side now, and then we can take it over, put it on top of the hat, and screw it down. This is just temporary. All right. First test. So we got the blower sitting on top of the hat. I got a little piece of pipe connecting the hat to the pipe that runs down into the cone to about here. This is left open. I'm going to turn it on. I got a little pile of sawdust here, and I'm just going to drop it past this entranceway here and see what happens. What could possibly go wrong? Okay, I like what I see so far. You can see the dust as I drop it, it just gets sucked right into the blower. Through the light passing through, I'm not sure if you noticed, but you could see some dust swirling around through the Cyclone. So having a look now at what's in the bucket. Oh, hang on just 1 minute, I need a place to set this. We have dust in the bucket. All right. Hey, it's working. And what I want to do next is, I'll run a little bit more. What I'm going to do is attach a hose to the inlet, because I got my big box of hose. So I'm going to attach the hose to the inlet and then suck up some dirt off the floor. Let's see how that works. Okay, after a little bit of wrestling, trying to get this pipe, the flexible pipe, onto this 4-inch PVC. Anybody got any tips on how to do that? I would welcome them, because I was able to just kind of barely get it on, and then I just used some duct tape to hold it in place. Obviously not a final solution by any stretch, but anyway, that seems to be getting me in the ballpark. So I'm going to turn it on and just suck up some dust that's here on the floor. So let's just see what happens. I'm going to set the camera up over here so you can see the dust swirling around in the collector as it comes off the floor. All right, here we go. Well, I'm going to call that a success. Man, my shop vac can't even pull up stuff that this was pulling up with a 4-inch hose. That's phenomenal. And I'm going 4-inch. Let me show you what I got here. So that's a 4-inch hose, and all coiled up. If that expands, that's 20 feet of hose. So I'm sucking that stuff through a compressed 20 feet. And you can tell that that is just like really rigid, like full of ridges. So the airflow coming through that hose is abysmal. That's not at all how it will be set up in real life. It'll be stretched out to make it smoother, and only about half of that amount. The rest will be rigid pipe. But look at what it did to my floor. Man, this shop needs a dust collector. But look at that. Assembled and tested. That's a big thumbs up.